After taking over 16,000 sales calls and generating over 25 million in high-ticket sales, we've consistently achieved a 40% plus closing rate and collected 90% of our contract value up front. In this video, I want to reveal to you the 3 key changes we made that made this possible. To save you some time, you'll only be able to implement these strategies if you're a coach, consultant, agency owner, or online service provider. This isn't going to work if you're a salesperson trying to get better at sales. This is because the 3 changes that we made have actually nothing to do with the sales call itself. Which brings us to our first change: creating a unique mechanism for our offer. If you can make people believe that your unique mechanism is the only way they can achieve the desire that they want, then all of their other objections and concerns become irrelevant and they buy. And this is because most objections, most of the reasons why people don't buy on a sales call, other than what I'm going to talk about in number 2 and number 3 here, is because they're comparing you to other people or they don't have money. But if people really desperately thought that this was the absolute only way that they could get something, then they would figure out a way to find the money and they wouldn't even try to compare you to any other of your competitors. And so you have to kind of separate yourself out from your competition. You have to create a category of your own. The other person to first bring this up, I believe it's the 22 immutable laws of marketing or 23 immutable laws of marketing, but they say that first is better than better, meaning that if you just take something that's already out there and you make it slightly better, that's not really going to put you in a category of its own. People want new things. They want something that they can't find somewhere else. And I think it's just slightly better than the opportunity cost of switching or trying something new for just a slightly better result is not worth it for them. And that's when you get people on the sales calls that are throwing tons of objections at you. It feels like you're going up a hill versus I've worked with over 1,000 coaches, consultants, agencies, and online service providers at this point. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, I have seen people who were not good at sales at all, who really weren't even, in my opinion, the best business people, that were absolutely printing money, $1, $2, $3 million a month, simply because they had a unique mechanism before anybody else had that unique mechanism. Now, the thing about a unique mechanism is it truly needs to be unique, right? Just saying that you're the best is not a unique mechanism. Just saying that you care about your customers or clients is not a unique mechanism. It needs to be something that they can't just go and find from somewhere else, or they can't just go online and Google. And this means that you may have to take some time to figure out what is a unique mechanism in your business. Why would someone buy from you compared to your competitors? And I actually wrote down a list of a few things that I notice are unique mechanisms inside of our marketplace or our industry, right? So the first is when I first started our company, Scaling Systems, over 4 years ago, we were placing virtual assistants in our clients' company. So we still do the same thing that we do today, which is we build end-to-end marketing systems for coaches, consultants, agencies, and online service providers. But back then we were doing it primarily through cold email outbound. And the way that we were doing it through cold email and outbound was using virtual assistants. We had a training center in the Philippines, and we would train virtual assistants. They'd go through a 90-day intensive training, and then we'd place them with our clients at $3 an hour. And nobody else back then was, first of all, even working with virtual assistants, let alone placing trained people into companies. And so I was getting booked calls back then for like $35. And this is really when I didn't know a whole lot about ads and marketing, and I was kind of just dipping my toe into this coaching, consulting services world, but I was raking it in. And that was because there was nobody else offering it. Now, everyone's offering placements of some sort of person or another, but as far as I know, I was one of the first people to offer this in the marketplace. Another great example is placing appointment setters and placing salespeople. When that first entered our marketplace, let's say 1 to 2 years ago, nobody was doing that, right? People had placed virtual assistants, but then somebody came along and started placing appointment setters, and they were throwing rocks at people that were placing virtual assistants because they were saying, hey, don't use this person overseas. Instead, use someone that's trained in the United States that's commission only. Boom. That is a new unique mechanism, right? Getting a trained appointment setter. There's no real website you can go online like Fiverr or Upwork to find an appointment setter. And so before everybody else came out and started copying that, that was really, really unique in that sense there. Another really great example is Amazon automation. Now, I know that Amazon automation today is like 95% 95%, 99% of them are all scams. I've lost quite a bit of money back when I was naive, when I purchased my own Amazon automation stores. But why do they work so well? Why were people literally giving $40,000 to $80,000 to these sketchy looking people that they had just seen one ad and gone online and purchased the thing from them? And it's because it was a unique mechanism. I know somebody who made over $80 million selling Amazon stores, right? And the reason why they were able to do it without really any social proof, because less than 1% of the stores actually even worked, the way they were able to do it without like any real proof that it even worked in the first place, like that it was against Amazon's terms of service, et cetera, is because it was a unique mechanism. Nobody else out there was offering it back then. And so it was so easy to print money. So the first change that we made was we created a unique mechanism in our business. And like I said, we've created multiple unique mechanisms as we've scaled. We did virtual assistants back before anybody was placing anybody, and we did that for multiple years, but then people started copying us. So then we started doing done-for-you services included in the coaching program. I call it a hybrid offer. We were one of the first people to offer that. Inside our company, we write the ads for our clients. We write the video sales that are copied for our clients. We write the thank you page videos for our clients. We set up the ads for our clients. So we do it in more of a hybrid format where most other people in our industry are just saying, here's a course, go and consume it and hop on a group coaching call. We were the first to make that shift there, but now everybody else is kind of copying that as well, which is why we recently launched what we're calling the self-sustaining funnel. And that is how we've been able to, in the past few years, really separate ourselves from our competitors out there who are just promising, oh, we'll generate you more clients. Well, what we've noticed is that we're in a trust recession right now, meaning that trust is the lowest it's been in the past 40 years in the United States. And what that means is that what used to work, like, hey, here's an ad, get on a call with us and close the deal, no longer works. You need to make a sale before the sale, which is what I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. And because you need to make a sale before the sale, you can either do it through manual methods like setting calls or appointment setters or outbound dialing, or you can do it through much more leveraged methods like through content, but not just posting content randomly, having a specific methodical journey from where someone first sees you all the way to when they're booking the sales call, right? And that's what we call the self-sustaining funnel, because I've actually been able to do it for our company and manage our whole marketing department, which has been one person generating 8 figures in revenue using this system. And now we're installing it for our clients. Now I'm sure, now that I've said this, people are going to go funnel hack me and they're going to try to copy it for us, but we've been in this game for 4 years and we have the proof to back it up. And you can check out all of our socials everywhere. You can see the content that we're posting and you might be able to piece it together a little bit, or our client can just come and work with us. But you can't go Google self-sustaining funnel, because I was the one who created that concept when I pieced together all the things that we were doing. And it took me weeks to create it in the first place, right? So the first change that we made here was creating a unique mechanism, and you need to figure out a way to pull out a unique mechanism in your business. And that way, when you get on the sales call, all other objections or concerns are irrelevant. The second change that we made is making the sale before the sale. Now, as I mentioned previously, we are currently in a trust recession, and this is the worst for high ticket businesses like you and me, because you need trust to make a sale, but you need a lot of trust to make a high ticket sale. And so the first step is definitely to get a unique mechanism. That's going to make your sales calls way easier. But the second thing that's going to make your sales calls way easier is making the sale before they even book the call. Serious Decisions, which is one of the largest kind of aggregates of sales data around, figured out that over 70% of prospects choose who they want to buy from before they're even booking their sales call. And so why is this a problem in our high ticket industry? Well, that's because most people in our industry are trying to make the sale on the sales call, right? They're trying to hard sell people on the sales call, tell them who they are, what makes them different, how their process works, et cetera, on the actual sales call itself. But we know that 70% of people are making the decision before they're even booking the sales call. And so that's where you have this kind of out of balance thing that we've noticed in our industry. Now, we've been able to combat against it by making the sale before the sale. We've been able to do 80 to 90% of the selling before somebody even gets on the sales call. And that kind of goes back a little bit to what I was saying before in the self-sustaining funnel, which is where you're creating content, very specific content to your target market, and they're going through a specific journey before they're even booking the sales call. And 80% of that journey is going to be prior to the sales call. It's not going to be on the sales call, the specific pitch deck that we use and the specific way that we do wording and the flow of the conversation. If you're doing all that and you're focusing all your energy there, you are too late, my friend, okay? We need to make the sale before the sale. And this isn't just like creating more content, right? Because that's not the answer. Everybody can create content. I think there's like 1 billion minutes of content uploaded to YouTube every single day. But it is a specific combination of different touch points. The Google came out with a study a few years ago. They came out and they call it the 7-11-4 rule. And it's 7 hours of content across 11 touch points in 4 different locations can turn a prospect into a buyer, right? And that's on billions of Google's data points. And so what you want to do is not just throw up random content on one channel or here or there. It's you want to create a systemized journey of your prospects to go through before they book the sales call. So for example, for us, we run top of funnel ads in order to generate interest on different platforms that send not to like a hard sell book a call on our calendar, because people don't want to do that, but they send them to some kind of mechanism that warms them up further, such as these YouTube videos here. And then we can retarget them with more content like YouTube videos or some of our Instagram content, some of the reels that have done really well. And then we can warm them up with even more content, like for example, a video sales letter where we're selling our offer before they get on the call. We're explaining our process, how the self-sustaining funnel works. I'm breaking it down step by step. And I'm not afraid to give away all that information because nobody has a self-sustaining funnel, because we created that concept after, being in this business for 4 years and generating 16,000 sales calls. And so only then, after they've consumed hours and hours of content across YouTube and Instagram and my video sales letter and our newsletter and all this stuff, then do they book the sales call. And then by the time they get on the sales call, our salesperson is just closing. They're just doing the last 10 to 15% of sales on the sales call itself. So if you're watching this video right now and you have a marketing department, right? Or you have a media buyer or something along those lines, don't just optimize for more booked calls on the calendar. And don't just optimize for someone who books the call and they're quote unquote qualified. They have money and they have a problem, because that's just not enough in today's day and age. You need to make sure that not only do they have money, not only do they have a problem, but they know exactly what your solution is and how you guys plan on solving it. That way, when they get on the call, you're not spending the majority of time trying to explain who you are, what makes you different, and what your process works, how your process works. You're spending the time going through their unique situations, answering any of their questions, and then of course closing the deal. Now, before I get into the third change that we made, if you're watching this video, you're a coach, consultant, agency, course creator, or online service provider, and you want us to build out this self-sustaining funnel for you end to end. We write all the ad copy, we show you what kind of content to create, we set up the funnels, the structure, the flow, all of that for you, and we work with you on a one-on-one basis to manage it and scale it. I'd go below and book a call with myself or one of our team members so we can walk you through exactly what that process looks like. What I've learned after building and adjusting over 1,000 marketing systems is that most people fall in one of two categories. Either they have no pre-qualification process and they just let anybody online book a time to get on their sales team calendar, or they just have a minuscule minor pre-qualification process where they ask one question like, are you able to afford financially something along these lines, like $3,000, $5,000? Answer the question yes or no. And if they answer no, they don't get to book a call. If they answer yes, they do get to book a call. But hopefully, if you've been paying attention to this video up until this point, you know that just asking a question of do you have enough money is not enough to determine whether somebody is actually qualified or not. And if you actually did the math around it, most people's sales calendars are packed with highly unqualified people. And if you're able to shave off all those unqualified people and just speak to hyper qualified people, even if it means you're taking 70% less calls than you typically would, well then if those calls, let's say you're able to pack your calendar, if those calls are all qualified, you're gonna have a much higher closing rate and you're gonna take more qualified calls faster, which means you're gonna collect more cash faster, which means you're gonna get a faster return on your investment from ads or whatever else you're doing. So just for easy numbers here, let's say that you have a decent qualification process and you get 10 booked calls a week on your calendar, and it's spread across, let's just say 3 days, the 10 booked calls, okay? And you go through the 10 booked calls and the majority of them don't show up or they're not qualified. So then after 3 days, you have closed, let's say, one person, okay? Now, let's say in a second scenario, when you have a much more robust pre-qualification process, instead of having 10 booked calls, you have 3 booked calls, but you end up closing all 3 because they're so pre-qualified. And because you don't have your calendar packed up with all those other 7 people that are unqualified, you can take all 3 of those sales calls in one day and get a hat trick of closing all 3, and you're making cash in a shorter period of time. And that really stacks up over time. Not to mention, you're starting to be able to have salespeople who are generating $200,000 to $300,000 a month in cash for your business. So you're able to run an 8-figure business with 3 to 4 salespeople versus what I see out there, which is a lot of 8-figure businesses I know are running with 8 to 10 to 12 different salespeople just because there's so much inefficiency on the calendar. Now, I I have another video where I go much more in depth on like how you can set up a pre-qualification process. But the idea behind it is I see it as two major steps. The first step is in the calendar itself, there should be at least 2 to 3 questions where you're asking and seeing whether somebody should book on the calendar through an auto curation process. So for example, for us, if somebody books with a phone number that is in a certain country that we know that we have a low closing rate for, it will automatically cancel that call on the calendar. Nobody has to do anything. It's automatically curating them off of the calendar for us. Another example would be if one of the first questions we ask is, are you a coach, consultant, course creator, or online service provider with a price point of greater than $2,000? If they answer no to that, once again, it automatically curates those people off the calendar. So that's what we call auto curation, where it's this, nobody's touching it. We know for a fact that those people are not a good fit. And then there's a second step that we call manual curation. Now, part of this self-sustaining funnel is we've built a software to replace a sales coordinator or an appointment setter or a salesperson doing this for that we actually install for our clients. But the idea behind this is that after somebody books, you should have a holistic review of the application and see, is this worth a sales call? So for example, how in detail was their responses? If you asked what's your biggest challenge in your business or what's your biggest challenge in losing weight, and they answered like 2 words, need money, then there's a good chance if you were to analyze the book calls you've had in the past, those people are probably the highest no-show rates and the lowest closing rates. So you could either cancel that call immediately, or you could reach out to them and try to get a little bit more information. And if they don't respond back, you can cancel the call after that as well. To give you some numbers to show you that we practice what we preach here, between the auto curation process and the manual curation process, over 75% of the people that try to book a time of our calendar eventually get curated. And this would make most people freak out. They'd be like, oh my God, you're wasting all of this money. You know, why don't you create a low ticket offer or a mid ticket offer, blah, 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 which, hey, maybe in the future we do something like that. But I'm not trying to create 50 different offers to appeal to 50 different people. I'm going after a very specific person, and I want to have the leanest team possible in order to achieve our revenue goals. And we've been able to build, you know, and generate over $25 million in sales using this system. So not only are you going to have less excess and less waste, but you're also going to have a lot more profitability and a lot less headache when you do it this way. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a quick favor and click the subscribe button down below, and then comment and let me know if you guys like these kind of longer form videos, and ask me any questions that you have. And also, if you are a coach, consultant, course creator, or online service provider with a price point of greater than $2,000 and you want us to build that end-to-end self-sustaining funnel for you, where we come in and install everything, we write all the copy, we set up the system, etc., I recommend booking a call to speak with myself or one of our team members where we can walk through exactly how that process works.